Hey guys, welcome back to Warpaint Off-Road. I'm Dan, and today we are at a Jeep dealership. We're gonna talk all about the JK versus the JL. Do you buy something used like a JK, or do you buy something a little bit newer like a JL? Well, what are the differences between them? We're gonna talk about it. Stick around, check it out. All right guys, so I'm here at my local Jeep dealership and they have a lot of models here for sale.
Wow.
They all have dealer installed items on them, but they told us what those cost.
Wow, look at this. Do you know what this means?
That's right, we can knock those down to the sticker price of these rigs. But we're first gonna talk about the things that make the JL look different than a JK. You'll notice that the grille has a cutout in it for the headlight. Very, very minor, still the 7 slot. The JK grille does not have that. Now that 7 slot grille is iconic, and in 2024, they are going with a slightly different grille change from something traditional, and it's gonna be even more different than the JLU that you see behind me here, which is a 2023. And so if you like that more traditional grille, you're gonna wanna end up with something like a JK, but keep in mind, the JL grille is not that much different. The next thing we're gonna talk about is the front fender and the windshield angle, which a lot of people might not notice, but obviously my fender is nice and flat here, and my windshield angle, I mean, it is what it is on video. But if you come over here to one of these JLs, maybe you can see that that windshield angle is a lot steeper. That's supposed to give these vehicles, which are about as aerodynamic as a semi pulling a parachute, a little bit more miles per gallon. Then obviously they have that fender cutout, which, you know, just makes it look a little bit different. Next, let's chat about door handles. The door handle on a JK makes you grab it with your hand and kind of push it with your thumb. That's a little bit difficult for those of you that have little kids. They don't have the thumb strength to actually be able to open the doors. The door handles on the JL are much nicer. You basically just come in here, grab it, and pull it open, right? So you don't have to necessarily worry about anything like that. There are some other minor differences like body lines. The taillights look a little bit different. Even the hardtop, the body lines on the hardtop look a little bit different. The hood latches on a JK are very different, and they are definitely light years behind the new hood latches. That's another iconic thing that you'll notice on all the JLs. But don't be fooled, because I have the same hood latches on my JK. They're very easy to swap and install on to the rig, and they're much nicer and stronger. But if you're not a die-hard Jeep guy, you probably don't notice a ton of that stuff right off the bat. The most iconic things are gonna be that cutout in the front fender, the taillights, and that minor deviation in the grille. Other than that, it's pretty much a JKU. But let's dive on in. Let's talk about the interior differences, which are huge. Now, hopefully I can find a JL here that's unlocked and actually show you the interior, but so far they all appear to be. And this is the interior of a Sport, right? So it's not leather. It's, you know, the dash isn't bad looking, right? It's, you know, it's fine. But it is a little bit more utilitarian. Excuse all the dirt in here. Obviously I have an aftermarket roll cage in here, but and then I even have an aftermarket radio, but you could get one from the factory that was similar to this. But the real differences in the JLU, I think, for comfort happen not only in the aesthetics in the front, but for your rear seat passengers. In a JL, you actually have a little bit more legroom in the rear, and you have rear seat air conditioning, which obviously none of the JKs had. I couldn't get into any of the JLs on this lot, but this video clearly shows you the interior of a JL. It's a little bit more refined, but still looks like a Jeep. One of the other big differences is the clips that plug in your door wiring. When you plug in your door wiring on a JK, you kind of have to pull on the wires to separate those plugs. It's probably not the best idea if you want that thing to last a long time. On the JL, it's actually pretty nice. The plugs kind of clip in, and then they have a latch that flips down and secures it into position. They're very, very easy and very advanced from what came on the JKU. So again, minor subtle differences, but the differences they had, they did it right. The JLU is a big upgrade as far as interior comfort from a JK. Now, for those of you that want to modify your Jeeps, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be much cheaper to find a good used JK example with decent miles on it than buy a brand new one, because these brand new ones are easily double the cost of what's in the used market for a good used JK. And they are improved, right? So if we talk about the axles, it's kind of hard for me to get down and show you because all these rigs are pretty low to the ground, but the JK came with a Dana 30 in the front, just like the JL, unless you get a Rubicon, which comes with a Dana 44. But let me explain something. That Dana 30 and Dana 44 in these JLs is not the same Dana 30 and Dana 44 that comes in the JKs. In fact, the Dana 30 in these JLs is a lot closer to the Dana 44 that came in these JKUs. Everything was kicked up a notch as far as strength. Their steering is more heavy duty. Everything on these is going to be improved. But the front axles do have a big weak point with that front axle disconnect. That's something that you're going to want to try to eliminate or get rid of. And if you are switching over to something like a 40-inch tire, you're still going to need those 1-ton axles like I have under Warpaint. The rear axle on a JL is actually going to be a Dana 35. Now, that may cause some anxiety in some Jeepers that had some experience with older Jeeps.
Excuse me, but you're spraying everywhere.
Because Dana 35s years ago in the rear used to be made of glass. You did not want one. But again, they're different in these. They're a lot closer to the JK Dana 44. If you get one of these in a Sport, a Sahara, something like that, and you get it with limited slip, it does give you that new Dana 44 in the rear. And of course, if you get a Rubicon, you get Dana 44s front and rear, and they're even better than the old Dana 44s, as I had said. So it's a big upgrade in axles. But again, that only really gets you to like a 37, a 38-inch tire. When you go to a 40, you really need even stronger steering still, even bigger brakes still, even stronger axles still. And 1-ton axles can be expensive even if you build them yourself. So now you're throwing all of that cash on top of what you spent at the dealership, not to mention voiding your warranty that you're paying for anyway. But it all depends, because if you're someone that just wants to bolt on a set of 37s, maybe have it re-geared in a lift kit and enjoy your warranty, you can probably still do that. Warranties, the way that they work usually is you have to prove that the modification to the vehicle caused the problem that the vehicle's having in order for it to actually void the warranty. Simply re-gearing your axles or putting wheels and tires on, it might void a wheel and tire warranty, but it's not going to void a warranty of your radio going bad or something that's completely unrelated. So you have to weigh your options there when it comes to buying a new one and modifying it. Now the JK came with that nice dirty, dusty 3.6 liter Pentastar, which is a super reliable motor. Don't let anybody tell you different. They put them in every Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, and Ram since 2012 that gets a V6, and there's no sign of stopping them because they're great engines. They make good power for what they are. They get decent fuel economy. You know, and again, anytime anybody makes millions of motors, you're gonna have a few that have those issues, and those are the ones you're gonna find on the internet in the forums. No one ever complains when they have good experiences, right? They kind of stay out of those forums. There's a lot of engine options on the newer Jeep. You can still get that 3.6. It is upgraded and made it to an 8-speed automatic, which is a phenomenal transmission. It's even better than the 5-speed automatic, which came in the JK, or in the newer JK, but that 5-speed is still bulletproof, right? It's not a bad transmission by any means, but the 8-speed is definitely an upgrade. You can also get a turbo 4-cylinder, which surprisingly has a lot of guts, okay? That turbo 4-cylinder moves itself down the road pretty good, gets even better fuel economy. And of course, you can get the 4xe. Now the 4xe is an electric hybrid version of the Jeep, and it gets way better gas mileage, but of course you're introducing more electronics. You're making it harder to modify, and that Jeep is gonna be maybe not the best thing in the world off-road, depending upon what you're exposing it to, right? So just something to maybe think about. Those Jeeps are also pretty expensive. And then of course, they offer the Hemi swap. Now, you can do the Hemi in the JLU from the factory, but you're going to expect to pay a lot of money for that Jeep, and you can get the same Hemi put in a JK for about $30,000. So if you think about that, if you buy a JK for $30,000, that's got some modifications, you put the Hemi in it for another 30, you're into that Jeep for about $60,000. Whereas you're buying essentially a stock Rubicon, which again, very capable. You bolt on a set of 37s in a lift kit, you're good. But you're looking at more like 80, 90 grand out the door, tax, title, license, all that kind of stuff, especially once you bolt on a set of 37s, because all they come with is 33s. So again, depending upon your outlook and what you want to do, a JK again might be the win as far as buying rigs. All right guys, so here's the bottom line. JK, JL, in my opinion, if you're wanting to 1-ton swap, go to 40s, maybe even doing motor swap, it's going to be way cheaper for you to spend less cash, buy a JK, and then do all that work to it. You're still going to be into it for probably about the money that you would spend for a new Rubicon. Maybe less, certainly if you do it yourself, but you're going to have a completely built Jeep with a new motor and a new transmission anyway for that. Now, these Jeeps, these Pentastar 3.6s, you can look up what their life expectancy is, but people are easily getting 200,000 miles out of them. And the transmissions, those 5-speeds, are amazing bulletproof transmissions. They're actually what they used to put behind the SRT8s back in those years. So they're capable of handling a ton of horsepower behind them. As long as you maintain it, you're not gonna hurt it behind that 3.6. It's gonna last you a good long time. As far as comfort, the JL wins. It's always going to. It's got more rear seat legroom. It's got rear seat air conditioning. It comes with a nicer soft top. It comes with nicer seats. It comes with nicer dash. It's got those electronic creature comforts. You definitely can't get that in a JK. But again, if you don't really care about a lot of the creature comforts, because that by no means means that a JK is uncomfortable, all right? A JK is probably, in my opinion, the newest Jeep that you can get that's still the easiest to modify and customize, because the electronic system, like I said earlier, although complex, it's not nearly as complex as what comes in the JL. And although the JL axles are stronger, they're still not strong enough to support a 40-inch tire, especially with some hardcore wheeling. So depending upon what you want to do and how much money you have to spend, that's basically what it all comes down to. But those are the main differences between a JL and a JK. So if you're in the used market, you're wondering if you should buy something new, you know, think about what it's going to cost you, because, you know, by the time you get bumpers and wheels and tires and aftermarket fenders and all that stuff you're going to change, there's a really good chance you might be able to find a JK that's already got that stuff installed, kind of like war paint, and it'll save you a bunch of cash. But anyway, guys, thanks for the support. Make sure you click that subscribe button, share this video, and I hope it helps some of you in your journey into buying a Jeep and figuring out how exactly you want to customize it and doing it for the least amount of cash possible.